Report number 7 filed by a warehouse stocktaker, the man whose job is to count what a building holds. His statement arrived with a scanner export, 410 lines long. 409 of them are inventory, pallets, cartons, weights, shelf codes. This report exists because of line 410.
A scanner can't lie. It's not built for it. It can only beep. Item confirmed. Item confirmed. My whole shift I used to think that was the comforting part. Item confirmed. I've had time to reconsider what exactly it was confirming.
Cycle count night at a distribution warehouse is a liturgy. Aisle by aisle, shelf by shelf. Scan the location tag, scan the item, wait for the beep and the flat little voice in the earpiece. Item confirmed. 40-foot racking overhead, forklifts parked and cooling, the building making its night sounds, metal ticking as it sheds the day's heat, a conveyor somewhere clicking through an idle cycle, the specific silence of 10,000 boxes in the dark. He'd done this route 200 times. Aisle A through aisle M, 4 hours, one man, one scanner, one voice saying item, confirmed until the words stopped meaning anything. That night the count was clean through 6 aisles. The trouble started in aisle G, and it started small. The way inventory trouble always does, with a number that shouldn't be there. The first wrongness was a matter of milliseconds. He squeezed the trigger on a carton in aisle G, and the beep arrived early, a hair before his finger closed. The kind of thing you blame on lag, on batteries, on 4 a.m. He blamed it on all 3, and kept counting. 2 racks later, the scanner beeped at a shelf he hadn't aimed at. He checked the screen. Item confirmed, pallet, sealed, 112 kilograms, location G14 door. He looked at G14. G14 was empty. Not miscounted, not mislabeled. Empty. A clean steel shelf with dust shadows where a pallet had once sat. He walked to it, ran his light across it, put his hand on the cold steel. Nothing. And in the export scrolling on his screen, the line sat there anyway, patient as arithmetic. 1 pallet, sealed, 112 kilograms, confirmed.
Shortage. I know what to do with. Empty shelf, missing pallet. That's paperwork. That's normal. This was the other thing. Surplus out of nowhere. The scanner was seeing more in that building than I was. And its job is to be right.
By aisle J, the export had grown 7 phantom lines. Sealed pallets on empty shelves. Cartons with weights but no dimensions. Each ghost entry carried the same category code, UNK-00. He knew the category manual the way monks know scripture. There is no UNK-0. There is UNK-1, damaged goods pending review. There's no 00. And then he saw the pattern, and the pattern was worse than the ghosts. Every phantom line sat in an aisle he had already counted. Through G. Clean when he walked them. And filling up behind him, entry by entry, as if the counting itself were an invitation. As if something were moving into the emptied spaces at his back, taking up shelf after shelf in his wake, and the scanner, honest, literal, incapable of lying, was simply doing its job. Logging what the building now held. Aisle M is the last aisle, the one that ends at the staff door he'd come in through. He was 3 shelves from finishing when the scanner beeped in his hand. By itself. His finger was nowhere near the trigger. Item confirmed, said the flat little voice. He turned, slowly, the way you turn in a building you no longer trust, and aimed the scanner down the dark of the aisle behind him, at nothing, at the black gap between the racking where his flashlight didn't reach. And he pulled the trigger, because the scanner was the only witness he had. Beep by beep. The screen filled in, field by field. Category, UNK-0. Tie. Weight, 78 kilograms. Temperature, 36.6. Status, in motion. He read it twice. 78 kilograms at 36.6 degrees is not freight. It's a build. It's a body's worth of warmth, standing in aisle mem, being inventory. Then the location field refreshed. Aisle M, aisle L, it was moving toward the staff door, walking his route home.
People ask what I saw. Nothing. That's the point of it. The aisle between me and the door was empty. Confirmed empty. 78 kilograms of empty, at body heat, headed for the exit.
He did not take the staff door. He broke, by his count, 4 site regulations, crossed the picking zone, overrode the dock interlock, and left through loading bay 2 into the truck yard, into rain that felt like the outdoors apologized. The scanner he left behind, set down on a shelf in aisle M, still powered, screen facing the dark. He says he doesn't fully know why he did that. The closest he comes is this. It felt wrong to take the witness away. Somebody should keep counting.
The scanner logs what the building holds. It doesn't ask how it got there. That's not its field. So here's what keeps me up. We counted that warehouse every single night for years. What if we were counting it the whole time, and it just used to hold still? What changed? What did we confirm?
The exhibit. The export he printed at dawn. 409 lines of inventory, reconciled to the ledger, clean. And line 410 timed. Category UNC 0.2. Weight 78. Temperature 36.6. Final status, logged at 4:51 a.m., 11 minutes after he left through the dock. In motion, aisle A ends at loading bay 2. The company adds one written note. Category UNC 0 exists in their system after all, reserved at the warehouse's founding, by a system account. The account was deleted per the audit trail before the system went live. The report remains open. Unresolved. A quiet one. Before the next report, a fragment. Fragment 02. A photograph attached to a human resources complaint from 2016. A company holiday party. 14 employees in the frame, arms around shoulders, tinsel, a banner. The sign-in sheet for the event carries 13 signatures. All 13 attendees were interviewed. All 13 point to the same figure as the 14th, and no 2 of them describe that figure the same way. Tall, says one. Heavy set, says another. The woman from accounting, says a third, who is certain, although accounting had no women that year. The photograph survives. The face of the 14th does not resolve, on any print, at any resolution, on any scan. The complaint requested that the photograph be destroyed. It was instead filed. This fragment remains unprocessed. Report number 8, filed by a cold storage clerk, and filed, we should be precise, 4 times. 4 identical statements submitted weeks apart, each one word for word the same. When contacted about the duplicates, she was surprised each time. Each version, she insists, was the first. We have chosen to believe all 4 of her.
At -25, your thoughts get slow and honest. Nothing extra survives in there. People ask if maybe I imagined it. You don't imagine things at -25. It's too cold in there for imagination. Only what's real gets to stay.
The freezer hall holds beef at -25 degrees, and it holds it in silence, a hard, pressurized silence that sits on the ears like depth. Rules of the room. 40 minutes maximum per entry, thermal suit sealed, and mind the door. The door hangs on a closer that gives you 20 seconds before it seals, and you learn its timing the way sailors learn tides. Her job was cycle counts. Row by row, pallet by pallet, breath crystallizing on her lashes, and the habit her co-workers teased her about, gently. For 6 years, she counted out loud. One voice in a frozen room, keeping itself company, 7, 8, 9. She says the counting was never about the numbers. It was about the sound. Proof of one warm thing in the room, and proof that it was her. The night it started, she was 6 pallets into row D6, 7. And underneath her voice, half a second behind, pitched exactly like her, thinned by distance, a second count. From the deep end of the hall, past the last racks, where the ceiling lights give up. An echo, she told herself, some trick of new packaging absorbing sound differently, and she kept counting to prove it. 8, 9. The echo kept pace. And then it didn't. Somewhere around 12, she realized the voice from the dark was ahead of her, whispering 15, 16, while her own mouth still shaped 13. She stopped. It didn't. And when she reached the 15th pallet, her count and the count from the darkness said the word together, in the same voice, in perfect unison. The echo was not following her. The echo knew the raudai. The echo was counting forward.
An echo repeats. That's the whole job of an echo. A thing that counts ahead of you isn't an echo. It's something waiting for its turn. And it had been listening to my voice for 6 years. It had my counting down perfectly.
The manifest for row D says 18 pallets. She stood still, lamp beam shaking a little, and let the voice from the dark finish the row alone. 17, 18. A pause, the length of a held breath. 19 to throw. And then silence. A satisfied silence. The silence of a task completed. She recounted. 18. She walked the row with her lamp, touching each pallet the way you touch things to make them stay real. 18. There's no 19th pallet in row D. She was turning to leave. 40 minutes were nowhere near up, but some clocks run on different rules. When, from behind the last pallet, from the space her lamp had just passed through, her own voice said a word that was not a number. It said her name. Softly. Kindly. With the exact rise she uses herself on the loading dock when somebody's worked past the end of their shift and forgotten to go home. She did not answer. She wants that in the record, and the record is glad to hold it. You do not answer a cold room that knows your name. She walked, did not run. Running burns air and time, toward the door, and the door was moving. The closer arm was easing it shut, calm and mechanical, though she had opened it on a doorstop 14 minutes earlier, the way she did every entry of every shift. Her lamp found the doorstop as she passed. Inside the hall, meters from the frame, lying against the base of row A as if it had been underhand tossed there. She took the gap sideways, suit scraping steel, 1 second of margin, maybe less. The door met the frame. The lock threw itself with its heavy magnetic clunk. And then through 4 inches of insulated steel, from the -25 dark she had just left, 1 knock. Single. Unhurried. Knuckles, not fist. The knock you give a door to say, I'm still here. No urgency at all. The morning count, different clerk, full lighting, 2 witnesses, found 19 pallets in row D. The 19th stood at the dark end. No label, no manifest line, no lot number. Wrapped in stretch film like every pallet in the building, except, as the dock foreman noted in writing and then declined to elaborate, wrapped inside out. The film's tack surface faced outward. Machines don't wrap that way. Machines can't. The company did not open it. Someone senior made a quiet decision, and the 19th pallet left that afternoon for disposal. Seals intact, paperwork marked non-conforming stock. Nobody signed the line that asks for contents.
Everyone asks what was in the 19th pallet. Wrong question. I counted out loud in that room for 6 years. Here's the right question. How many shifts did it spend counting along with me? Quiet, patient, learning the numbers, before it decided to count me.
The exhibit is the disposal record, and the disposal record is why reports 7 and 8 share an episode. Listed weight of the 19th pallet, 78 kilograms. Core temperature at pickup, logged by the disposal contractor's probe, after a week in a room held at -25, plus 36.2. The driver signed the manifest, declined all comment, and resigned the same day, in person, leaving his final paycheck unclaimed. The company classifies the incident as a labeling error. This channel notes only this: warehouses count what they hold. Sometimes the holding is mutual. Unresolved. A quiet one.